Chapter 10, Albert's Journal of the Universe, 10th entry, a mission report.
September 2nd, 2045. Continued. The celebration of our successful return to prime reality lasted into the wee hours if there is such a time. Recounting these events in linear progression is the best way to bring comprehension into view. Our team of vacationers kept to our learned schedule of rest. We were reliving a forgotten era in Earth's story, so time was moving at a pace we easily adjusted to. In fact, the days and nights were almost always 12 hours, with only a slight variation. The planet still had its equinoxes twice a year with only difference of 1/2 hour on the cycle. Everything now is in remarkable balance. This was before the building of pyramids. The remaining structures from this point in the time stream are not recognized as building in our normal perception. Many architectural designs were made to help correct the consequences of what we are reliving remembering. Lazarus shared with us a kind of mental debriefing, helping us better comprehend what was happening. We are reviewing what has already occurred with a fresh perspective. Thank you for playing this out with us from your added viewpoint. Many are remembering, much like you with your soul group, although few have stretched the boundaries of Creator's self-realization awareness as your team of Imagineers. As you see, we are quickly approaching the point on this path where Earth begins many dramatic changes. Many events were occurring simultaneously as the Moon was positioned into orbit around Gaia Earth, amidst widespread excitement and anticipation. It will take thousands of years for these changes to happen, and at this point nothing can be altered. Just enjoy the ride through time-space. You may also recall how the excitement of having a permanent observation satellite turned to concern as it altered the tides in orbit of Mother Gaia. This would help lead to the separation or breaking apart of Pangea. Changes also happened over thousands of years that led many surface dwellers into Middle-earth, where almost all species that have ever developed here on Gaia have weathered the storms of life. Perhaps the most damaging thing to happen in this period is the encouraged development of psychopathic behavior into the indigenous inhabitants. With a developing mindset going on in Atlantis, along with the attempts at DNA enslavement research being implemented, this period is making some important realization on cause-effect. Many of the visitors from all reaches that came to Gaia found the indigenous inhabitants attractive, then found ways to interact with them, producing new ingredients into the DNA mixing bowl. They discovered we could enter their life forms as it just began life to live among them. The price was forgetfulness of who they are. This reality held many advantages we cherished, so we made the journey often into vessels where we learned their ways. You are here after thousands of lifetimes while you are still living a life on Gaia in what you feel is your prime reality. So this is nothing new. It is because you are both here and also in vessels riding on Gaia at the same time that makes this so wonderful. You are a part of an ongoing simulation. Only Myra has visited us before. She brought your group along this time. The only place to make change is where your vessels are in time-space. When you return, you will take with you all that you remember. We all heard Myra confess to recognizing the visitors upon their arrival, even though she had no prior knowledge, unaware that we would witness these events unfold once more. Lazarus continued with the mind briefing. These events, as you may recall, are what led you to sign the contracts where you all agreed to live out those 1,000 lifetimes. Just observe what you remember with detachment. Be thoughtful with caution by thinking only with your heart. This is what we did as a soul group. We traveled down memory lane together, recalling early life events from our unique perspectives. It was not just remembering, it was reliving in an instant. We took it slow at first as we refamiliarized with our provided surroundings pace of life. We were back on Gaia's neural net, so that was a lot to take in. What helped us the most was our past journeys as elementals on worlds created in our dreamscape. Each flower had a story that we shared, each rock, each leaf on every tree, all the critters, the wind, the sky all had a shared story that we connected with at a level we had forgotten. I cannot tell you all the stories in this journal, so listen to those stories when you get a chance. No technology can hook you up to Gaia's net, so this was a remembered experience we enjoyed. The net was a buzz on Pangea as each story blossomed with new opportunity, hope with action towards life that was granted by Source Creator. Wealth was not even a concept yet because there is plenty. Not all was well on Gaia's net, as some have justified a self-proclaimed need to control. This brought an uneasiness illness into the net. They lose connection to the net with this ego infliction. Although the virus is still spreading, energy is high. Talk in Lemuria of plans to take the city off planet to tour the heavens is busheling on the net, as soon as the moon is fully operational. This journey for Lemuria would not occur for another 1,000 years. We kept our knowledge of what we knew to allow events to flow naturally. The whole team got refreshed from taking a few moments to reconnect with Gaia. We all got together for a group story time. Each one of us has experienced these events from a unique perspective sacred to our bond with each other. Our mouse friend Babbler was bursting with questions.
Call me dense if you like, but I am having a hard time keeping up with what is happening. Where are we? Maybe I don't have the memories this far back. I remember my life as a mouse in the tribe scout. I remember the fantastic journeys that we have been on along with what we have learned, but now I am lost. Why, what, who, when, and how? I do remember agreeing to live my life as a mouse in a tribal scout. Before that, all that I recall is a burst of light from what we have learned is the central source. I remember billions of yes lining up to go to this special place to live out life in a time of promise. I did not know what a mouse was, so I thought I was getting a deal. No regrets, mind you, we have been on quite a ride.
Scout was the one that always helped Babbler when he began his ramblings.
Slow down, Babbler. I picked you for my team in that pre-life reality. You stood out among those billion of new photons ready for a promised journey to Gaia's rebirth. What you see is the story of Gaia as we have experienced our lives here. You are a new spirit from Source Creator, so this is all new to you. It is your gift to look at this with fresh insight. Relax, go with the flow, your insight is in your questions. Be happy you are a mouse. I have lived as a human, and it is not so wonderful.
We have all had different pre-life experiences that bring us to where we are. Myra shared her past experiences with Lazarus.
This is all about healing. Everything we are witnessing is for us to better comprehend the source of an illness that has festered for 1,000,000 years. In our lives back in Utopia 2045, we have conquered aging along with all the illnesses known to us on Gaia. Here we are grasping at what immortality really means. Even Babbler, who is a new spirit, has no true beginning or end. Our real journey will begin with the sharing of gained wisdom from these sojourns. For some reason, the answer to all that plagues the cosmos is within our grasp, making it a playful task to uncover. Even the collective universe seeks nourishment. Our prime reality in 2045 is changing each minute as more have reached their inner potential. There are parallels in both timelines. Gaia's natural neural net is actually active at a level we are not even aware of. Let's take the rest of our dream vacation learning our role in this cosmic healing.
This was a unanimous decision. After all, it is us we wish to heal. Such a beautiful intention. Back on Pangea, what we may consider magic was just tapping into natural energy that is all around. Massive dinosaurs roamed freely as the order of life was presenting creatures that ravaged on other life for survival. Not known to the dinosaurs was an extinction plan that would wipe them out entirely. This was planned and orchestrated by a group from some other galaxy that did not like the danger that these creatures caused, so as judge and jury they sentenced the extinction of the dinosaurs through bombardment. Memories of these diabolical plans remind us we only had a limited time to save as many species as possible by moving them into Middle-earth, or Gaia's womb as many call it. Millions of beings lost their lives for the convenience of a few. As above, so below as those that survived on the surface mimicked this psychotic response from being above them by seizing the spoils, exploiting the weak. It took the combined efforts of Atlantis along with Lemuria to bring growth back. This was our first cosmic disaster where we began questioning the intents of our fellow visitors to Gaia. At this point, we still did not know of the effects our moon observation satellite was having on Gaia. Gaia was scorched by the deliberate meteor bombardment that caused a slight wobble on her axis. Her skies were filled with dust and poison. Only the constant current from Gaia's central atmosphere would clear up that mess. Still, it took thousands of years to heal. With the renewal of life came many changes. Life was adapting to the new environment after the bombardment. The weather changed as winter made its way into being in places that used to be tropical. The wobble was creating a new challenge for life that it eagerly adapted to. Everything was smaller, even man was tiny in comparison to earlier man. He stood more erect to make up for the loss in stature. This was a new breed of man, more intelligence towards programming, making a bountiful slave population. Also with the potential for reaching boundaries way beyond those that plot to enslave. This new man was also attended schools of higher learning in Atlantis and Lemuria, achieving insights that even stunned their teachers. War was brewing among the star visitors, with Gaia destined to become a battleground. The indigenous will surely mimic the concept of war. Small quarrels that may have appeared to be major battles occurred, until peace was finally agreed on. These small battles appeared in the skies as unimaginable magic of the gods. The indigenous inhabitants were slowly being released from the master-slave relationship as a new golden age arrived on Gaia. Samaria, Atlantis, Lemuria, and Eden were all major space-dimensional ports, bringing cultures with higher learning to share with each other. Many in the remote area of Pangea had little to no learning that shared a worship of the star cities. The Anunnaki held themselves out as saviors, promising to bring order to Pangaea with their benevolent leadership. As observers, we knew that many of the problems in Pangaea were the result of Anunnaki manipulation. We stopped their advance towards control at this point in time. Ancient Mayans were the record keepers for the star gods, along with many in portions of Pangaea that stewarded what would later be called Africa. Man was in a tribal stage of evolution as they found safety in numbers. Most tribal groups had a chief of sorts, although the shamans were relied on the most. We would usually communicate with the shamans when we visited the indigenous beings. Tens of thousands of years have passed since our arrival in Pangaea. We would soon be witnessing the next extermination event on Gaia Earth. With the shift in Gaia poles, along with a period of little solar activity, Gaia was entering an ice age. Glaciers forged their path across the terrain, altering the landscape and relocating boulders as large as mountains. The added weight of the ice caused stress on Gaia's tectonic plates. The ice was holding the land together, so when this great ice age ended, many shifts took place, with the continents beginning to split apart, making many inland cities such as Atlantis seaports. The bombardment of meteors, the orbit of the Moon observation satellite, the Great Ice Age, and the melting of the ice all contributed to the recipe for the biblical flood that wiped out most life yet again on Gaia. For those that we could not save by moving them into Middle Earth, Gaia's womb, we helped store the DNA of most species in arks that were built by many indigenous beings on Gaia. Lemuria made its journey into the heavens before most of this happened, with Atlantis eventually sinking into the ocean. Atlantis was protected from the giant ice glaciers but could not do anything when they began to sink. It happened very quickly, with only a small handful preparing for the event. This brought us to the beginning of our mission contracts, which is 10,000 years ago. First, we mapped out a healing grid in Gaia where energy vortexes were centered. This was like acupuncture points on the body. We then began helping with the construction of pyramids that would draw energy from the cosmos to help with the healing process of Gaia. Our efforts to help break the cycle of civilizations' rise and fall is joined by many in the cosmos. The Orions had a plan that would transform the cycle if man reached a level of awareness that would allow mankind back in the playing field of Prime Creator Source. With all that Gaia has been through, there were only 4 races of mankind left on the planet. A tribal meeting with these races took place, with the wisest in each group representing their clans. It was decided that each group would represent each of the 4 main elements. The groups would study their respected elements until they became masters. Then the tribes would meet back together to share all they had learned with each other. The red man chooses the earth, the yellow man chooses air, and the dark man chose water, with the light-colored man choosing fire. They split up to different areas of Gaia to begin their study. More of this story is told later in this journal, where you can see the answers that this effort provided. The Anunnaki's influence grew as they claimed the mantle of gods. Solomon from the Anunnaki lived among the indigenous for thousands of years, teaching ways of manipulation that would become unquestionably dogma for most. The Anunnaki and the reptilians jockeyed for power and control of the slave race called man. Things were no longer out in the open, so they rarely revealed their true origins. The narrative of Gaia has been chronicled extensively, yet records from the past 900,000 years have been omitted from traditional teachings. It was taught that this was the beginning of times for man on this planet. Only the wisdom keepers knew the real story, and they were stifled, eliminated, persecuted, or just ridiculed for speaking the truth. For the most part, Gaia was finally being left alone, as many of the star races returned home. Only a small group remained behind. Our soul group was mainly Pleiadians, with our family familiars choosing to stay and help Gaia on her healing path. On all of Gaia's wisdom, she agreed to allow the moon to orbit her celestial body, even with the added turmoil that it caused in her waterways. In many ways, it helped with the development of life so it would be allowed to remain. It also helped stabilize Gaia's wobble as she orbited around Sol. The earlier pyramids in Egypt marked the center of the Earth. This is where the geometric lines would stem out from. They were built to receive or send energy back and forth to the Orion belt, where much needed help was offered in the path to recovery. The Orion Nebula is said to be the origin of life in our galaxy. Nebulas are where suns and planets come into being born, so naturally this must be our creator. Who created the nebula? We all have our own theories to that. The vast network of pyramids, along with oblasts, serve as power sources, transporters, as well as interstellar communication. This energy was given freely from Gaia, intended to be available to all. This was one of the many reasons for the great history her story cover up. One of the Planck's guidelines for control is to control the distribution of energy. This is only one of the Planck's, as many have been developed, implemented, and accepted even in our lifetime back in 2045. We all remembered agreeing to begin our life journeys fresh with no recollection from this point on. There must be a way to return these beings to a path of healing. We could only learn this by trial and error, so running the real-life simulations with billions of variables could only be done using the universe's heart-mind creation simulator, or some may call it the heart-mind of creation. We hooked into the matrix of life on Gaia, the Akashi network where all knowledge is available to us. As time moves forward, our journey slows down a bit with our continued rebirth into forgetfulness. Lifetime after lifetime begins. The mission goal in our spirit contract is to find our mankind way back to source. We are no longer Pleiadians. Even with our return here where we found our roots, we hold on to the simulations that brought us to this simulation. Each lifetime was a lesson. Some lessons took many lifetimes. The learning process is endless. This quest to heal our miracle existence is part of our essence. Mary giggles like a small child as we relive our first lifetime after the contract was agreed to. She and I were born as twins to beings that did not know any language. We answered to the sounds that our parents made. Mary answered to hey, because they would look at her and say ha. I became known as when I would wander away, they would always make the sound. If I did not answer, it would cause an angry dance that could be very frightening. For the most part, these primitive parents were wonderful providers, protectors. Brandon, our language expert, was our grunting father figure. He answered to sounds, not words. We were never sure what to call our father. High-pitched noises usually got his attention. Mother was Myra, with her being called Ah in this lifetime. Somehow we communicated as we learned what caused us harm and what brought pleasure or satisfaction. The habitat we shared was under a waterfall with a natural pool inside that received streams from above with smaller drain holes leading into the waterfall. This was a constant source of fresh water that we swam in regularly. We learned to stay away from the vortexes that were caused by the drain holes. We did not know what a vortex is, so we just made a gasping sound when referring to the swirling water. We held our throats to further convey the message we were communicating. In fact, if you came from another village, you may think that we just loved to dance and make gestures. We got good at messaging, even with strangers. One day we got a visitor to our waterfall cave, a being that seemed to radiate with knowledge, even the spoken word. This ambassador from Samaria wore strange clothing. He rode on top of an animal, and he made lots of noises that only he seemed to comprehend. He made fire with rocks and sticks. He trimmed his hair and beard with a sharp tool, and he had a string tool that could propel a shaft and one that could make sounds. This wizard shared his learned magic for a stay in our habitat. Ha! Mary was renamed Joy with my new name of Get, short for Get Back Here. Our wizard's name was Myrrh. He called our father Sir and our mother became Grace. He told us he named our mother after the feeling he got after Sir was done with him when they first met. Myrrh took a special interest in teaching us as children. After we began to comprehend Mir, he would tell us stories that brought back memories in our forgetful life. Mir would point up into the night sky, saying, "That is where we are from, and someday we will return." The greatest thing that Mir taught us was how to make observations to learn on our own with the information that is provided to you. Everything is your teacher. He pointed out nature's routines, the bees making honey, the deer returning to the same watering spot, the birds building their nest, and so on. Only through observation along with imagination can you learn on your own. The gift of speech has a price, Mir would say. This price is limitations. Names along with spoken description bring limitation that only you can overcome. When you comprehend this, your learning will truly begin. A recapitulation of previous lives is much easier from an outside perspective. This life had great significance in our development. For now, this entry of the journal is concluding. We have traveled through almost 1 million years in a day, so it is time to rest. In our prime time stream in 2045, only a few minutes have passed, although we are still in need of rest. We relived one of a billion timelines in the Quasaverse. All timelines have slight variations that are unique to this quasi-universe. Multiple versions of time exist all at once.
What a ride through time. The team of dreaming soulmates are going to experience some of their past life lessons in the journal ahead. I hope you subscribe, like, and share this journey. You can also visit quasaversecomicbooks.com to expand the Quasaverse.